Yeah.
Vanglorious Vanguard.
Knowledge born.
Yeah.
United Front.
Tell it.
What you want.
To the Knowledge Radio.
We in here. What you got? Dot.
Work hard as a slave to one day be your savior. The wave unwavering. This is a labor of love. Rise with a purpose every day. Invigorated. If we were on TV, we'd be 10 times syndicated. If we waited for validation, a paycheck or accolades, we'd be starved, already lost or ran away. But when you're square solid and you circle too, you don't need a place for solace. The concept is conquered through media, not areas of people activity. A mix that don't lose ethnicity. Tightness that don't lose elasticity. Explicitly, this isn't where we give the novice regard. Nah, this is where knowledge is born. Last time that I checked, I'm undefeated. Deliver edicts, can't resist when the gods build and manifest freedom. When lines get crossed, they may push a loss, cause they get handed a check. We kick your can and cancel your cancerous gestures. A prophet vision, precision, the prescription for the sickness is to inoculate your fate with the winning. Arrogant beginnings turn to humble endings. And UF with KBA is a win-win. 1K.
Man, yo.
We're stepping it up around here, okay? So
Man,
you know.
That
Been a
theme
minute.
song, man.
Okay, since you've been here, it's been a minute. Did a little adjusting, did a little upgrading, you know what I'm saying? Did a little sage work, virtual sage work out here, okay? So,
United Front in the house. Oh, yes, that was hot. That was a great intro. I love it.
So we here, Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge is Born Alive. We here with two remarkable people, two brave hearts, two royal Africans up in here who have dedicated their life to the service and the upliftment of fallen humanity through healing work, through outreach work, through so many things. You understand what I'm saying? So I had to put my Kwame Nkrumah on, today for such an auspicious occasion. We're here on the transition day of our Baba, Steve Coakley Sr. Peace and blessings upon him, that divine ancestor and his royal family. So it's only fitting that we bring some healers that don't cut no corners and tell us the truth. So it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce and present to others the multifaceted, multi-talented African healing dream team in the building. Queen Mother Iyapo Moyende Ngina and our brother Obasi Kamara. Welcome to the platform.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Iyapo always tripping. She like, what is he gonna say about me now? Let's see. And Obasi is like, who the hell is this African talking about? Because I just walked in here and he was talking about somebody.
Man, I take it how I can get it, brother. You know what I mean?
Yo, I'm glad to be here, man. It's good to be on the show. It has been a minute. Yeah. Right. As a matter of fact, I was watching the other day. I think the last time I was on the show, we were doing a political education on might have been combat liberalism, I think. And I just rewatched it the other day, and I was like, man, this was a real gem. And your insights were like just so great. I found myself taking notes on the darn show that we did. It was good. It was a good show. Yeah.
I mean, it's so necessary. Even for a second, I had bought the final call yesterday. And we say whatever we want to say about the Nation of Islam as an institution, blah, blah, blah. Good, bad, whatever, right, wrong, indifferent.
Right.
I just was reflecting. I have been buying this paper for 30 years. And in 30 years, the price of the paper has only went up $1. So the ingenious of an organization that's been around, this is its 91st year of the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
And the paper has only went up in my time of supporting it directly with my own money, $1 in 30 years. So the organizational sustaining force, foundationally, of the Nation of Islam came from a newspaper and a Navy beam. Because you can't get a paper without getting the bean pop. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right. Real
A
nice.
sustaining powerful force foundationally for an organization that's existed throughout, which came into existence during the Great Depression.
Yep.
And sustained itself for 91 years. If you look at like the 30-year time span with the paper, that began as Muhammad Speaks, that we now know as the Final Call. A paper and a Navy beam. We didn't even know what the hell a Navy beam was.
Listen,
a Navy beam that began as soup for the laborers or the Muslims that were fasting 1 meal a day, 1 meal every 3 days, that were following that prescription, to something to cure the ills of the dessert and the sugar addiction that we carry that goes along with depression, things like that, coping mechanism. And a Navy beam that could have so many other type of properties and be another sustaining force for an organization that can be found anywhere. Yeah. So a paper that you could show that had black men going to work, because we got some things about going to work. Black men going to work and they could take care of their families and things like that off a piece of paper and a Navy beam all around the world. So it was just, on my head yesterday to speak about it, based on my own participation. So, the paper came as a jewel, a black publication with its own printing press that was shipped around, the world. And they found a way to work with a Navy beam to sustain themselves. We know they have other things, but these are foundational tools. And it's not limited within the construct of the organization. People all over the world now know what a damn bean pie is. And the Final Call. So I just wanted to posit that real quick.
No, it's important because first of all, I'll say I am, for lack of a better word, an addict of the bean pie. I go looking every Sunday, like I will today, for my Final Call and my bean pie from the Nation of Islam in Lamert Park. And everywhere I go around the country, as soon as I see a brother in a suit and a bow tie, I'm asking him, where's the Final Call and where is the bean pie? You understand? So it's culture creation that you're talking about, and whatever political or historical issues that we may have with the leadership of the Nation of Islam, no one can deny the cultural, the gravity of the cultural impact that the nation has had on every last one of us. There ain't nobody, even in the Christian church, that does not know the Nation of Islam, that does not recognize them when they see them, and does not know the economic, the social, the psychological impact that organization has had on African people in this country. One. Two, when I had stepped away from the Uhuru movement and began to do local organizing in Tampa under the banner of the Black Star Action Network, man, the brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam in Tampa, I love them Africans so much. Like, say what you want about the politics of the nation as an ideology, the brothers and sisters who joined that organization love African people, period. Period. You understand me? They love Black people. That's why they join the nation. You understand? The other stuff comes later. They join this long-standing organization that has solved problems for addicted Africans, for imprisoned Africans, for those who've been tossed away by society. They have programs that help transform these human beings. The other stuff comes later. The ideology comes later. The stuff that we get caught up on comes later. But at the end of the day, these African men and women that join this organization loves us. And they love us unconditionally, whether we realize it or not. I was organizing in Tampa, man. I would put out a flyer or submit an article about some event I was doing or some project I was initiating. And I'm telling you, within 48 hours of posting it, some African from that organization was going to call my telephone and say, what do you need from us? Do you need security? Do you need one of the sisters to do a workshop? Do you need promo? Tell us what you need. And showed up every time without fail, never asking anything in return, though I always offered it, but never asking or expecting anything in return. You understand? And that's how they show up. I don't care where you are. I don't care where you organize. And there was this line for a long time that unless you're in the Nation of Islam ain't messing with you. And that's not true. That's not true. Brothers and sisters in them organizations love African people, and that's the way they show up all the time. So I appreciate you prefacing the show with that. Yeah.
So let's get into this epic Black August 2020 rooftop awakening that took place. I know we did the prelude, I think a couple of days before the actual event, because I saw it. I was like, hold on, yo, African, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? I did not get any. Let's come here. So,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Let's talk about it. What was your vision for the actual event? And then, we can incorporate Brother Abbasi into the conversation with a question for him. He can reflect on it as you go. What was it about this particular series, this particular workshop that attracted your attention? And, we were looking for some insight from you. So let's start with you.
Okay, so, what Brother Knowledge is referring to is the last week in July last year, I actually woke up from a dream. I had been having, like last year posed a lot of issues and new uncomfortable norms for everyone. And I was not, exempt from that and had been treating people in my backyard, actually. And once it looks like the pandemic was intensifying and I had housemates that were very, insecure about people coming to our house, though I was treating, them in this beautiful backyard setup, like very gypsy-esque setup that I had in the backyard, this turquoise tent and, whatever. My housemates were really uncomfortable with having people come to the house to be treated. So I was kind of like, that was what was allowing me to kind of survive economically through this weird place with coronavirus. And so it was July 27th, I think. I woke up at 3:00 in the morning from a dream. And I was really stressing about money, baby. And Spirit was like, Iyapo, I don't know why you're fronting. You got enough stuff in your head that you can make money just from the stuff you have in your head. Like, use that. I get up at 3:00 in the morning and I just start free writing, right? I'm like, okay, so everybody's doing Zoom conferences and Zoom calls and Zoom workshops. I should do it too. But what would I be able to do that would be mass enough that people would be interested and wouldn't be too like over their heads. You know what I'm saying? So at 3 o'clock in the morning, free writing, I wrote out the entire workshop just that quick, right? So that morning, when the sun came up, I did like a Facebook invite. And by the end of the day, I'd made $500 by the end of the day, just doing the promo for this rooftop workshop that was going to be basically centered around using traditional medicine. And my primary focus of traditional medicine was obviously acupuncture, Chinese medicine, because that's the heaviest part of my education, right? So I did the promo. It was the first time I'd done it, you know, and I'm guilty like everybody. Sometimes, you know, I suffer from imposter syndrome. And then sometimes, you know, I get real insecure and carrying on. You understand what I'm saying? And so I made my goal of attendance very modest. I said if 20 people, you know, sign up for the whole workshop, I will be good with that, right? And I exceeded my goal of attendance by 3 people. And so the quick rundown of the workshop was it was promoted as a 6-week workshop every Saturday from this beautiful rooftop in downtown Hollywood. And it was going to be centered on, it was called Rooftop Workshop Series, Our Healing in Our Own Hands. And it was supposed to be a very integrated, hands-on, and theoretical workshop that would help empower people, right? And you didn't have to have no background in medicine to be able to make use of the information provided from this workshop. So the 6 workshops were understanding 5-element theory, knowing the 8 principles, the esoteric implications of traditional medicine, and we focused on several aspects of traditional medicine: Ayurveda, Western Hemispheric traditional medicine, African holistic health and healing, and then also traditional Chinese medicine. And what I mean by the esoteric implications was I really incorporated this kind of web of, you know, medicine and magic and music, and how there's this beautiful overlap in all of them, right? And what that looks like in the real world. How can you apply it with your family members? How can you use the esoteric implications of traditional medicine in a really understandable, organic way with your family? How can you diagnose your babies, you know, so you can avoid taking them to the hospital every time they got a runny nose or whatever, that kind of thing. Then there was a workshop called The Mysteries and Magic of the Lower Palace, which was a workshop on the significance of the uterus and what is called the Bai Mao in traditional Chinese medicine, which is this vessel that only exists in women born female. And I have to specify, given the current, you know, political environment, women born female or women born with uteruses, and why this vessel that only exists in that human being is so significant, and what that means, what it means in terms of why so many women, and in general, and women of color in particular, are afflicted with younger and not younger, for a matter of fact, are afflicted with diseases of the uterus and the reproductive organs, and the role the Bai Mao plays in that, right? How a lack of touch and sexual stimulation can create these diseases of the uterus, right? The role men can play in helping heal these issues that women are afflicted with, so on and so forth. Powerful. Why we have as women this, what a lot of people have reduced to this insanity or this insane attachment to love, right, is based in this understanding of the lower palace, right, in the uterus, in the Bai Mao, because the uterus is connected to the heart, which governs the mind, or our conscious and subconscious mind, and the root of the tongue branches or blooms from the heart. Magical stuff, right? So anyway, have me tell it, right? So anyway, and then and then there was the last workshop was using adjunctive therapies, the practical application of adjunctive therapies, and all adjunctive therapies are in complementary medicine, or in not complementary medicine, in allopathic medicine or Western medicine. Those are all considered your primary methods of treatment. And anything outside of Western medicine or allopathic medicine is considered complementary or alternative. And an adjunctive therapy, all that is if you are, so say you have cancer, I mean, this is worst case scenario, but say you have cancer and you're going through the allopathic method of treating cancer. You're doing surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. Anything that you use outside of those three things would be considered to help you through this process, would be considered an adjunctive therapy. So in a lot of cancer treatment centers now that are Western-based cancer treatment centers, they're using a lot of adjunctive therapies, not necessarily to treat cancer, but to treat the side effects of the primary methods of treatment. The chemotherapy, the rapid weight loss, and the alternating vomiting and diarrhea, and the muscle wasting and the hair falling out. Then you can use adjunctive therapies to help nourish, fortify, and strengthen the patient while they're going through these very violent and volatile primary treatments, increasing their chance not only of surviving the treatments and surviving the cancer, but improving their prognosis overall, the lengthening of their lifespan and the length of their remission. So that was it. And again, my goal for attendance was 20 people paying for the entire workshop, and I exceeded my goal by 3. And I had intended for it to be kind of like an ongoing process that would lead up to my developing an apprenticeship program, which has always been my ambition. Even when I was in school, I was like, I want to do apprenticeship. I want to have, especially young people, 16 to 25-year-olds, shadow me in an office and sit with me with patients, and a real hands-on organic apprenticeship where I can rapidly reproduce my skills in others. What I wanted to do with the workshop and with the apprenticeship eventually, and the laws for California are really liberal and allow for that, is to transfer those skills that people can use without having to go to college and become, indebted for forever to do it, where people can practice with their family members and the people in their community, and who do not have to get a license to practice what I am teaching them. So all of the modalities, all of the skills that I have in my possession that you have the ability to practice without being fearful of, quote, breaking the law or anything like that, those were the skills I really wanted to focus on transferring so that people can become empowered and, and have the ability to help themselves and help those around them, and in turn also reproduce their skills, radiating out kind of thing, right? So that, when, like I said, the laws in California are very generous, which is wonderful in terms of what you can do with other human beings without needing to get permitted or licensed or go to school to do that. And I would imagine, I haven't dug into it much, but just logically, I would imagine the reason that is because of the enormous presence of indigenous people in California, both Native American and south of the border, Mexica and Azteca, Inca, Mayan people coming up from Central and South America who have indigenous ways of healing and don't need to go pay somebody in college who hijacked their stuff and is reteaching it to them from a European-centered worldview. Like, my grandmama taught me how to do this. Her grandmama taught her how to do this. And so, I think that it was more centered in that the way the laws read in California that make it so that people, especially healers, have a certain liberty to treat and heal human beings without going through the bureaucracy that's imposed on the rest of us. If I can be frank, $286,000 in student loan debt for essentially systems of medicine that belonged to us. Okay, you understand? You know, my undergraduate, my associate's degree, my master's degree. All of these degrees in quote fields of alternative medicine are ancient systems of medicine hijacked by colonizers and repackaged and an extravagant price tag placed on the top of it, and then retaught in a very Eurocentric way to folks of color primarily, and then we left holding the bag for stuff that was ours in the first place. You understand? So even as I really call on people, I call on and I talk about, and it took a long time for me to get to that place, but I really expect and I call on people to, when engaging me, have come with a spirit of reciprocity. Like what I give is worth the money that I ask for. And at the end of the day, I go above and beyond every time someone sits in front of me asking for help or asking for service or asking for information. That doesn't mean I don't treat for free, because sometimes I do. I also, that's part of my reciprocity, is 20% of the people that I treat for free. And you know, but again, until we become the owners and controllers of that which belongs to us, these are the hoops that some of us have to go through in order to be able to distribute this information to the family without them being in the same situation that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Some you know, parasitic ass government telling me I owe them $286,000 for an education that, as far as I'm concerned, if you're Black and in America, you should never, for the next 400 years, we shouldn't have to pay for college. Now, any aspect of education that we are pursuing, we shouldn't have to pay for that shit for the next 400 years. We couldn't be educated for 400 years here. That's the reciprocity. That's the starting point. You understand? Come out of goddamn school, you motherfuckers talk about. Anyway, talk about I owe y'all all this damn money, whatever. Anyway, so that was the workshop. That was the intention. And the last, 6 months, like really kind of right after the workshop ended, there's just a lot, we're right in the middle of holiday season, in the middle of a pandemic. And so it really kind of shifted stuff, but I'm actually getting right back on top of making workshops available at least quarterly, and maybe not as long, maybe not the 6 weeks, maybe 4-week workshops, very concise. And the other thing is this particular workshop that I did, this is the last thing I'll say and I'll shut up. The workshop that I did, I'm still in this slow, painful process of editing all of the footage, because I recorded both audio and video of all of the workshops to repackage them, like really super condense them, repackage them and make them available to people who may be interested in what came out of them. I felt like they were amazing. I watched them regularly. I did a lot of studying. A lot of stuff just came naturally because I really love what I do, and I am always in a place where I'm studying constantly, like to just offer the best of what I have the ability to offer. But even the participation of the people who were taking the workshop, the questions that they asked, it was just real. It was really good for the first time that I'd ever done anything like that. But that's why you have a bossy here. He might say something totally different. He might be like, yo, that shit was whack. Yes, man. It was hard to follow. I really, you know what I'm saying? I might be genius in my own mind. You understand? So we'll see.
Bossy, you have the floor.
No, the workshop, she is absolutely incorrect. That workshop, man, was it was breathtaking, because she's a comrade. So, you talk to comrades and they give you advice. And, I know she has like 1,000 degrees and all of this knowledge, but to see the workshop, to actually see all of these like thousands of years of ancient information on healing, to see it I mean, like broken down in like charts and bars and graphs in a relatable form. I mean, it was just mind blowing. I have a friend. She was supposed to be here today. I think she's still taking care of some things, and she's not an activist. She's not. She's a total, just a regular, like, so-called unconscious person. And she was blown away. She took the workshop all 6 weeks. The price I thought was, relatively, in my anti-capitalist way, I really thought that it was a little bit too cheap, because just the volume of information, the way that it's broken down in a relatable form, it was just a mobile cache of information that you can use for healing. And just being colonized in America and in the world, and especially being an African, a lot of times we get burned out. We get burned out in our work. We just get burned out every day just being colonized, and just to have that information available to be able to treat yourself, to be able to treat your loved ones, to learn the different, ancient ways of approach and the interconnections of emotions and elements and healing. It's like one of those books that you can always go back to and you're going to find something new. So it was mind blowing, and I'm waiting for the next one. Absolutely.
There you have it. There you have it. Okay. So you wasn't tripping in your mind. You see what I'm saying? Women are the healers. You see what I'm saying? Women are the healers. Like they can heal us psychologically, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You see what I'm saying? Like that through that wonderful counselor that they embodied into one figure. You see what I'm saying? So when you're looking at, I used this analogy a while ago. When you look at school, the most important person in the school after the teachers was the guidance counselor. So you went to the guidance counselor for something that nobody else could give you. Separate from the principal, the administrative staff over there, that caveat was the guidance counselor. So they took the African home, the mother and the father, and centralized it into one being. So if you had an African father who was rightly guided, this is where your guidance comes from. You see what I'm saying? And then you have the warrior African complement of the African woman to give you the counseling that you need, that you don't even know that you need, but she knows that you need. You see what I'm saying? So the healing modalities work in a certain kind of way to where she could see you. My mother could always see, what's wrong with you, boy?
Right.
Don't tell me nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Or don't even say nothing. Just sit down and eat this. You understand? So like, there's a way to draw whatever the world put upon you. And ancestrally, we know when we came in the house, we took our shoes off. You see what I'm saying? We took our shoes off before we came into the house because we left whatever that was in the world out. Mm-hmm. And then we came in. First thing we had to do, wash our hands. You see what I'm saying? Clean ourselves up. And then we prepared for the meal. And then you go to the meal. Before you dealt with that meal, you prayed. You see what I'm saying? So these are all similences that kept us in a space to where we could deal with the outside world. The tumultuous state of the African mind that exists here in captivity and bondage and hell found its way inside of our doors when we stopped doing simple things.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We stopped doing simple things. That example about the Nation of Islam was a paper and a navy beam. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't F-16s and all of that. It was a navy beam and a newspaper. If you took your shoes off, you cleaned your shoes off, you cleaned yourself up, and you prayed over your food, you ate your food, you cleaned up, you was in another space. Simply in the mind. So when you could no longer focus on something as gracious and as blessing to be able to sit with your family and partake in the meal, when that becomes something that's held to do, is like, oh, that's a miracle to have your family at the house and to share a meal. Everybody's susceptible to everything that's going on, and everybody's impacted by it. Compound from a trauma perspective, from generational trauma being passed down, and our ancestral forces not ever being able to be at a space of peace, a moment of peace. You see what I'm saying? So we get compound interest on that, in regards to what we're faced with and what we're here to do. Because we all signed up in this, this volunteer army. Like, hey, send me. Hey, I'm telling you, I had that shit done in 2 days. Hey, let's go. Hey, give me my. All right, boom. And then the part about it is we come here, as my teachers have taught me, and you forget it. You forget it. You see what I'm saying? You go through that, that matrix and animated in the physical world, and all of a sudden you forgot what you was here to do. You see what I'm saying? So you got to start from scratch. That's the irony and the beauty of it. Except for when you dream, especially as a child. So them babies wake up from they dream screaming and yelling and hollering because they see what they're supposed to do. And they might be with 2 rocks for parents that forgot what they're supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? So they're like, oh man, I'm trying to tell you I'm here to do this and this. And you like, what are you saying? What do you want? You want something to drink? Like, we get real stupid with that. You understand what I'm saying? But it's a part of that whole thing of not being in tune with our family dynamics and how family dynamics and that the cultural aspect that you were speaking about earlier, Sister Iyapo, was key. You see what I'm saying? So being removed from that and, walking into this place, you out of your mind. You see what I'm saying? Because you're out of everything that identifies you with you, and you're walking in a made image and likeness of your enemies.
Bossy, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add, and also like the workshop just cleared up so many just historical, just patriarchal misconceptions about healing and just about our bodies and so many things. And one of the main importance of what it is that the work that I got from the workshop and what she just pointed out was, just this healthcare system and just the stress that it caused us, and it just costs so much money and so many things that they just exploit us concerning our sickness. And that workshop just basically, like I said, it's like a mobile package for just self-healing and just a whole different kind of and just so many just historical discrepancies as far as our outlooks. Like, for instance, I hope she gets into like the discrepancies of the yin and the yang, about how we have this, we think we know what it is when, I mean, it's just so deep, like in reference to healing and recharging. So
go ahead, tell them about the yin and yang, man.
I mean, it's so much. I don't want to jack it up because it's just so many things I'm trying to remember. Like the 5 elements of I mean, just so much information that, I'll just.
So a couple of things, both that you, Brother Knowledge, and Abasi touched on, that I think is so important. And at this stage in my life, I'm 45 years old, and I'm just so grateful for so much of what you said. Knowledge just like hit me, because it's this dance that I'm doing in my own consciousness right now, about, why I incarnated, the execution of my personal life destiny, the fulfillment of my personal life destiny, right? And am I on track with that? Am I lagging behind? Am I slipping up? Am I on track with that? You feel me? Like, all of these things that I think at our age, maybe younger, we start to contemplate or revisit from childhood, become front and center. And so I say that because when I went into medical school, The way that I entered medical school was everything. So I was in the African People's Socialist Party at the time that I decided, okay, I'd met my limitations about what I could do for our folks. I was the director of our health and wellness program, but I was a professed, self-studied, self-learned herbalist, right? My daughter had been my permanent guinea pig, and there was an herb in the pharmacopoeia I did not know. Didn't know what it did, didn't know what its contraindications were, didn't know. I knew everything about every herb. You understand? And even then, there's two things that I want to mention here. The importance of self-study, but the equal and probably even more greater importance of having a mentor. You can't make everything make sense until someone that knows more than you fills in the blanks that are always present in supposed self-study. Okay? And so when I was facilitating the programs of the African People's Education and Defense Fund through the wellness program, there was a lot that I could counsel people on. There were a lot of workshops I was leading. There was a lot of work I was doing around that project. But there was a moment, like as clear as we're talking, we're like, you didn't hit the ceiling of what you're able to provide with the information that you know. You need to do more. And so that month, the month I turned 30, I decided I was going to go into medical school. And medical school, my undergraduate was amazing. I found this alternative medicine program. It was the only program in the country where you could get a bachelor's of science in alternative medicine. I was like, this program was made just for me. Awesome. Amazing program. In that program, I learned so much more information than I'd ever been exposed to in my self-study. Wasn't enough. Then I went to massage therapy school. Now I'm putting my hands on people. I'm learning. I'm taking the theoretical stuff that I received in my undergraduate, and now I am able to use it in the physical way, in a material way, right? Literally molding and changing people's bodies. Awesome. Was not enough. Then I went to graduate school, baby. And it changed the game forever. Because, and I'm not saying every graduate program is like that, but I am telling you, me entering into medical school with an African-centered revolutionary consciousness was what changed how I took, how I received, how I processed the information that was being given to me in medical school. Because I went to school with other Africans who went into medical school the same way everybody else going to medical school. How much money I'm gonna make when I get up out this joint? And that was it. I go to alternative medicine school thinking, in my naivety, that everybody was going to medical school, alternative medical school, for the same reason I was going. We want to change the world. The Western medical system doesn't work. People are suffering. This medicine is going to transform the lives of human beings and raise a consciousness. And that wasn't what people was at school for. And I was surprised. I was stupefied, especially not no Africans. Nigerian brother that I went to school with, he was like, well, I'm about to get this money. He said, alternative medicine represents a $660 billion a year industry, and I want a piece of that pie. And I don't have to go, you understand, to regular medical school for 12 to 15 years. I can go for 8 years or 6 years and still get a slice of the $660 billion a year pie. He said it right out of his mouth. So I was, surprised by the philosophy of people going into this program. And that's when I realized that it was my philosophical, my political worldview that had that information. That was the worldview that information was being filtered through. You understand? So to read on a regular basis as like my motivating literature, Che Guevara's speech that he delivered on revolutionary medicine and the responsibility of revolutionary doctors. That's how I went to school. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I approach these programs. But it's not a small statement. dialectics. You know, we can get caught up on the real hyper philosophical, dogma around dialectical, historical and dialectical materialism. But dialectics teaches us that we, especially as revolutionary scientists, we have to be able to identify a phenomenon as it presents in the world at a specific moment, and also be able to identify and understand the role that every single web around it that has crossed at that moment in time is a necessary contributing factor to how that phenomenon presents in a particular period. It's not in and of itself, because if any one of those strands of the web had been different, the phenomena wouldn't present that way in that moment, in that time. And I ain't trying to be too deep on you, but this medicine helps me to understand the politics just as much as the politics help me to understand the damn medicine. Baby, let me tell you something about what I'm talking about. When I started doing the radio show Colonialism is Bad for Your Health, and literally functioning as this conduit to everything that I was learning in this school, I was going right back on that Sunday and doing the radio show about it. Let me tell you what the 411 is, behind the sheet, behind the wall of mystery that is deliberately created around our bodies and our health and our wellness to keep us disempowered. It's not an accident that we don't know nothing about our bodies. We know more about our automobiles than we know about our bodies. Even women. Women know I got to put oil in the car every now and again. I got to get the oil changed and the tune-up, and and I may not be able to speak automobile jargon, but I know there's some very basic things that I need to do if I want this car to keep going at its best for as long as I can. We don't know that much about our bodies and how it works. Why? There has to be mystery created around us to keep us disempowered. Why? Because our bodies, under this social system that we have been forced to live under, is the primary material resource, more important than any other material resource. Oil, diamonds, gold, silver. There is no material resource on the face of the damn planet more important than human bodies that can be extracted and exploited for the sole purpose of the creation of wealth for some damn body else. And you cannot have people who are empowered or informed about how their bodies work and expect to exploit them. People can't know how to take care of themselves. People can't know how their bodies work, what nutrients, what vibratory frequency they need to be in to get the best use of their body for their own personal benefit, and expect to exploit these bodies for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? How do you take God and convince God that its lot in life is to be a slave for the production of life, wellness, and happiness for somebody the hell else? The question of the health of our bodies, the care of our bodies, is primary in this scenario. It's not secondary. And when I was in revolutionary organization, health and wellness was always seen as something that was an aside to the real revolutionary work. Culture was seen something that was an aside to the real work. You see what I'm saying? It's not. It's central. Culture helps to inform who the hell we are. Command over our bodies that we have chosen to manifest in this life is required for us to move through this world in a way that we are able to manifest our personal destiny, right? And for Black people in particular and other colonized people to be talking about manifesting their personal destiny in a world that is propped up off of our subjugation is a problem for them. Can't have Black folks out here talking about manifesting their personal destiny. And the thing that they think is important to do that is the health and wellness, the care for the vehicle that they've chosen to manifest that personal destiny. You understand the frequency? And I just reposted this thing that I did not too long ago called What is the Goddess, and can you live, and what does it mean to live a life of ecstasy? right? And I'm not talking in ambiguities, Africans. To live a life of ecstasy is to watch children. You mentioned it earlier. Knowledge is to watch children before we impose ideologies on them that tell them they have no right to be ecstatic. They have no right to be happy. When you see a baby playing in the mud, just happy, literally happy as a pig and shit, right? Like just whoa, right? Just being in the moment, in the fullness of this experience that you have with your relationship to the mother, to the planet Earth. And those children, you see the light dim. As soon as we start to impose our fears, our reservations, our interpretation of what life on Earth is supposed to be on 2-year-olds, on 3-year-olds, right? To live a life of ecstasy is to be fully in your flesh, fully as spirit in your body, right? Being grateful in action for the bounty that Mother Earth gives us. I'm not trying to get too deep. What I am saying is when I teach a workshop on healing in our own hands and we get stuck on, you know, we got to eat a certain way and we got to do a certain amount of exercises and that we missing the damn boat. I don't care. I'm not a vegan. And if I want to be any given time, I will be, but I know that's not the key neither. You understand? That's what 5 Elements teaches us, that our organs aren't the only thing that's represented in the elements. Each organ has a personality. Each organ has a taste. Each organ has an activity. Each organ has a spirit. Each organ has an emotion, right? And if any of these things are unwell, you cannot expect full wellness in your full flesh. If the spirit of the organ is in disharmony caused by trauma, whether that's ancestral or your own personal trauma, right? And you treating, you know, crying, and you're treating, you know, physical issues, but you are not even beginning to address the spiritual disharmony that prefaces it all, how well are you going to be? How well are you going to be, man? The spirit of the lungs wants us to be happy. And the way the spirit of the lungs understands happiness is all the things that the Christian religion told us we ain't got no business doing. The lungs want you to be having sex all the time. The lungs want you to be rubbing in each other's head and rubbing each other's skin and looking at. That's the spirit of the lungs. The spirit is like, look, the spirit of the lungs, like, look, I want y'all to be happy in your body, like in your flesh. I want you to be dancing and breathing heavy. That's the spirit of the lungs. How many Africans do you know? I don't want to get that deep, but I'm just saying the spirit of the kidneys gives you what we call a lust for life, right? But we have been convinced because of imperialism, because of colonization, that our lot in life is misery. It's abstinence. It's deprivation. That's some shit that's been imposed on us. Mother Earth didn't have us incarnated out this joint to be deprived of the experiences that she's trying to provide. Abstaining from all the bounty that she's constantly trying to give to us so that we can live a life of ecstasy. You understand? I'm sorry, somebody gonna be mad because they Jesus then told them that you can't have sex, you understand? You can't smoke weed, you can't do anything that makes life on earth worth living. You understand? You can't do substance, you can't vision quest, you can't eat mushrooms, you can't do nothing. Can't look at you can't look at nobody with the thought of pleasure in your mind, because you might as well have gone ahead and committed the sin of adultery because you committed it in your heart because you looked wrong. You understand? Imagine a philosophy that is intended to deprive you of ecstasy for the sole purpose of reducing God to a slave. That's what this medicine teaches you. Traditional medicine isn't just about eating some herbs so you can feel better and get rid of a bellyache. God damn it. This medicine is the matrix. This understanding of who we are within the grand scheme of things is the medicine. You understand? And that is what I hope, at least, you know, nominally people were able to extract. And I did that a lot. I did it, this dance, I feel like pretty well between the political and the psychological and the medical and the magical to show that there is no separation, that it's all water. It's all this beautiful web that is permanently connected, and it is only our separation and compartmentalization of things that complicates the issue. That the acquisition of health and wellness should not be a mystery. That it should not be difficult. It should not be something that does not make you happy, right? Eating in a way that makes your body happy and your spirit happy should not be laborious, right? That's why I don't preach a philosophy of abstaining or abstinence, because I'd have met vegans, you understand, who are not healthy. I have met vegetarians who are sick. I have met vegans who have cancer. You understand what I'm saying? So what's missing? They doing all things right. They walk every day. They do this and they do that. What's missing? It's probably a spiritual disharmony, probably unresolved ancestral trauma, probably, you know what I'm saying? And if you're not approaching the medicine in that way, you still being dogmatic. And we got a bad habit of doing that. Black folks I'm talking about. Because we can create a religion out of everything. You become a vegan, now it's your damn religion. And you're preaching it from the rooftops to everybody in the world. Because now if you ain't a vegan and you black, then somehow you less than or lower than. Yeah, whatever. You understand? You're missing the boat. You're missing the boat. So anyway, I digress a lot. So anyway, I hope to make the workshop available before the summertime. The editing process is just like the most excruciating thing I've ever experienced. You understand? But the information is really valuable. And again, I felt like what I charged was very, I wanted people to have access to it. You know what I'm saying? That I feel like that's my responsibility. I feel like anybody that calls himself a revolutionary, a world changer, whatever it is your shtick is, that part of that has to be the rapid reproduction of our skills in others. That's the only way we're gonna flip this shit on its head. Is we can't be hog-tied. We can't be hoarding skills because somehow we feel like if we share something with somebody else that we creating competition for ourselves. Me doing that workshop and giving the information that I've given didn't change the amount of money that I was making in my business. You understand? It didn't change. It didn't lessen the significance of what I try to teach patients in session. So just give up the damn skills. And at the end of the day, they don't belong to you any damn way, if you're honest. You still there, Knowledge? You still there? Okay, yeah, the skills don't belong to you. If we Africans, if we indigenous people, if we natives or Mexicans, skills don't belong to us alone. Yes, we worked for them, but at the end of the day, some ancestor of ours was denied the ability, was denied the right, and that is what we stand on when we acquire these skills. That's the starting point of our acquiring these skills. We have a responsibility. That's not to say, because I don't believe in poverty politics neither. I have every intention to be abundant. I have every intention to be rich. I do not make any qualms about saying that. The bounty of the earth is limitless and fully capable of supplying everybody on it with an abundant and rich life. I'm not talking about rich the way we see rich propagated. I'm talking about all of our needs being met and us being able to live a life of ecstasy. I believe that. And that's what I expect to call and will into my existence. So I don't go for poverty politics and poverty preaching and you know what I'm saying, that co-righteous teaches nonsense. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about the responsibility of those of us who have skills, who have information that can set us on a trajectory to radically change our existence in our lifetime. That's the only way we're gonna do that is the rapid reproduction of ourselves and our skills in others. right, is to arm others with the information that can transform their existence and their relationship to others, right? That's what the nation did. That's what the UNIA did. We aren't talking about rocket science, and we're not really talking about anything new. Before, quote, white folks let us into their institutions, apprenticeship was the mode of reproducing those that were important in our community, so that when one left, he had taken on the responsibility of mentoring 5, 10 young people that had those skills, so that the community was never at a loss for those skills. We're not talking about anything new. We're talking about actually revisiting what our ancestors knew was necessary, you understand, in our communities before we decided integration was the thing that we needed and not self-empowerment in our own communities. That's all I'm talking about. And so I say, I always feel so grateful and humbled when I'm able to teach someone something and I can see in their eyes that they get it. I'm like, okay, yes, I did it. You know, I'm like a little kid. I'm like, all right, they got it. Yes. Right? And I feel like my job is done. All right, cool. Run with that. Do what you do. Do what you do. Make it pop however you need to. Make yourself some money. Do what you got to do. I don't be like, okay, 10% of your profits got to come to me because I taught you. Come on, man. Just do the work. You'll be cared for. Do the work. You'll be provided for. You will. Anyway, I'm done.
Ladies and gentlemen, Iyapo Moyende Ngina.
Yo,
But we supposed to follow that? How the hell are we supposed to follow that? We just supposed to just
absolutely. I need feedback.
Man, I just got my pencil and paper. I'm sitting here trying to take notes, bro. Taking notes.
I went and picked up my spear and walked to the door. Like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. Man, let me tell you about Bossy is my brother. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting feedback. Like echo or something. Yeah, that was helpful. Okay. So Abasi is my brother, right? I'm gonna tell a story about you, Abasi. So in the height of this pandemic madness, you know, those of us who were experiencing the stationing at home radically different depending upon where we were in the country. I think it was June last year. Abasi was like, yo, this stationing at home in Baltimore is for the birds, kid. Like, so you gonna host me in California or what? Right? And so I invited Abasi to come out here for a few days. And I was like, you know, I know Abasi is, you know, he lives in the city, you understand what I'm saying? It's like, you know, get your dirty clothes ready because we about to go out here. We about to do some things. Yeah, we ain't about to sit up in the house. So we went up to the desert. We went up to the Mojave Desert for 4 days. I'll just say, like, I just appreciate this African so much. But I will say this. He acted like a city boy the first day. First day we got there, we were staying at this little rogue-ass Airbnb in the middle of the desert. And I hear him arguing outside. I'm like, what is going on? I walk outside and I was like, what are you swatting at? The man is fighting a hummingbird, okay? I was like, boy, if you do not stop blocking your blessings, hummingbirds is the presence of your ancestors. You can't be shooing the hummingbird, you understand? And after that, it was like this calm kind of fell over him. And he was just really open for whatever the rest of the time that he was there, right? And I just mentioned that story because Abasi and I had not seen each other in 10 years? Maybe longer than that, maybe 12 years since we had seen each other. And, you know, our contact was always within the scope of this organization that we were both in PDOM. But one thing that I appreciate about the period that we're in is how the internet, social media has made the world so small. It has made the world so connected that you can meet people online and become family. Like, especially us that have been deprived of certain relationships and abilities to connect. Like, there are Africans that I'd have met on social media and had not seen in person and loved them. And when we saw each other finally in person, it was like a family reunion. You know what I'm saying? And I mention it because this brother, many other people, you, as a matter of fact, Knowledge, you had interviewed me, I know, 4 times before we ever met face to face. You know what I'm saying? This way with which we have to review the world and the resources that we have access to, because I am convinced, man, this workshop that I taught is just one of the many missing links that we have right in front of us to radically, rapidly transform our relationship to the world. We keep kind of relying on old things, and that's not to say old things aren't important, but we do not place as much emphasis on what we have in our possession that can make this shit pop. And the medicine is one. The mysteries of the medicine is one. Going back and remembering what our grandmamas tried to teach us and we ignored, you know, reevaluating our intimate relationships. One of the things in the workshop that I talked about was these studies that have been done over the last 30 years about skin starvation and touch deprivation, and how they survey all these places around the planet to see who are the most depressed, who are the most aggressive, and those relationships to who is the most skin starved and touch deprived, right? And with the United States being, quote, you know, the apex of all things civilized, the United States is the most skin starved and touch deprived community on earth. That giving rise to the violence that is peculiar in its nature to the United States, the aggression in youth, like through behavioral disorders and, quote, disabilities, peculiar to the United States, the suicide rate of adolescents that is peculiar to the United States, increasingly to Black, brown, and red people in this country. And that being directly tied to this idea, especially among men, that the only reason that you touch another human being is for acts of violence or for acts of sex, right? And so so one thing my ex-husband told me when he first moved to Sierra Leone, and, you know, he was from Pennsylvania, you know, he was a roughneck, he was, you know, cultured in the concrete jungle, you know what I'm saying? He was what we would call a thug, right? And so here this, you know, 6'5", jet black African moves to Sierra Leone, and he said the first 3 months he was there, he was like, yo, this is like a real learning curve for me, you understand? Brothers just be like, they'll come sit next to you and just put their arm around you and stuff. You understand what I'm saying? He's like, you see grown men, you know, walking down the street, you know, with their arm draped around each other's shoulder. You understand? Because they've been best friends since they was 5, right? Nothing sexual in it. And you know, and people, even though they're considered the poorest people on the continent, have this happiness, right? Have this, you know, this love for one another. They look happy, they feel happy. And he said, and I was the oddball because I was visibly uncomfortable by how comfortable men were in particular with touching each other, with holding hands, you know what I'm saying? With hugging each other when they see each other, like really hugging each other, not no like hood down, like yo type of thing, but like full embracing of each other. And And even the sharing, all of us ain't got nothing, so we might as well share what we got type of thing. He was really uncomfortable with that. He would sit on the phone with me and talk about, like, this nigga just sat down next to me and just started putting his hands on my food. And I wanted to fight. And people at the table looking at me like I was crazy, right? Like, this shit that we live in this country is damaging. Abasi and I were talking about it yesterday. Man, you go to another place where your conditioning is constantly one of self-defense and on guard, and everybody's suspect. And so you go to a place where people just speak just because that's what they do, and you like, what you mean, hey? What you mean, what's up? What's up? You know what I'm saying? This shit is not ancestral trauma, it's current daily trauma compounding upon itself. That has us in this bubble where we don't show affection, we don't touch one another, we don't hold hands, you understand? And then there's this acculturation that happens also in our parenting that's so dangerous. It's so dangerous, and I'm witnessing it in real time with my daughter and her children, and trying to intervene because we're not aware of it. But when babies are babies, what do? We're holding them and coddling them and talking to them and cooing at them and kissing on them 12, 16 hours a day, fully embracing, loving, cherishing, laughing, talking to our babies, telling our babies 1,000 times a day, I love you, baby. I love you, boo. You my sweetie, right? And what we tell our children is, as they age, the older they get, the closer their proximity to adultness, the less entitled they are to affection. When they turn 2, all the goo-goos and the gagas and the sweetness and the unconditional love all the time turns into, no, stop, don't do that. All the time. All that. If it's not killing them, don't tell them no. Let them learn. That's what I'm telling my daughter all the time. Is what she's doing right now gonna hurt her? Is it putting her life in? Then don't tell her no. Let her work it out. Let her solve it. Right? And if she does it good, say, okay, right? But the older they get, under the guise of discipline, under the guise of keeping them safe, we retract love. We retract physical contact. We retract connection. We don't say, I love you as much. And we wonder why, as adolescents, they become irritated and frustrated and violent and aggressive. And we blame it on puberty. We blame it on hormones. Oh, they're just going through them changes. How many times did you tell your child you love them today? Our frustration with our ability or inability to adequately provide for them economically becomes the excuse for the retraction of love and affection. The numbers don't lie. And since the 1972, the rate of suicide among Black young people has quadrupled in a population that rarely committed suicide when they started taking the statistics. You understand? And so what I'm telling you about the spirit of the lungs, the Po needing human contact, the outward sensory organ of the lungs is the skin. It's the skin. That's why when somebody rubs on your body, you have the emission, the production of dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, all the feel-good hormones, all the love hormones. You get the little goosebumps on your arms when somebody touches you in the right spot. Your little hair stand on end. Your lungs is governing the process. Because why? Because the Po wants you to be happy in your flesh. Right? The lungs want you to be happy in your body. Right? That's your connection between heaven and earth. Is this visceral, physical feeling that you have as spirit. So, yeah, it's really serious. And that's how the medicine becomes practical. Not just you take this herb for this symptom. or you do this many yoga poses to, lubricate your joints. Your spirit and your emotions are an integral part of what we're calling whole health. Now, in my estimation, we can acquire a certain level of whole health within the context of the social system that we currently exist. But this acquisition of whole health has to be partnered with a philosophy and a philosophy of radical social global human transformation. To assume that you can have whole health outside the group is outrageous. As if you aren't a part of the group, as if you aren't connected to the group, as if oppression can exist everywhere around you and you can have, quote, whole health is insanity defined. Understand? It's impossible, even as a health guru, you understand, to walk down the street and see somebody homeless, see somebody can't eat on a regular basis, and you can quantify yourself as the picture and the personification of whole health. You're insane, is what you are. You're insane. You understand? So even as we acquire for our individual self to achieve whole health in the context of spirit, emotion, and physical, social, economic, security are part of that, not just for ourselves as a group. And so whole health has to be partnered with a philosophy of radical world-changing transformation for the group. There is nobody on the planet Earth, no one, not a singular entity on the planet that is sane. Not one. We are all insane. We are all sick. We are all sick. While one of us is sick, all of us is sick. While one of us is deprived, starving, unwell, unhealthy, insecure in their ability to provide for themselves and their family, there's no way you can have 3/4 of the people on the planet Earth living off less than $10 a day, and you can say for yourself, you sane, that shit does not have an impact on you. You understand? So we have to save the world. We have to change the world if we ever want to experience what it is to be fully sane, fully harmonious, fully happy, fully well. We have to, every last one of us has to change the world. Because none of us know what sanity looks like. None of us. Not for the last at least 4,000 years. None of us know what sanity looks like. None of us know what real, true happiness looks like. Because there's been too many that have had the exact opposite imposed on them. That's my position. Y'all might disagree, but that's my position. If it ain't true, why all the wellness retreats? Why everybody got to go somewhere and dance in the woods naked and worship the sun to get, to resolve ancestral trauma? Yeah, all this bougie ass shit that we do to try to heal ourselves. You understand? Why the need for that if we sane out this joint? If we ain't all afflicted by this madness. Anyway. I'm done. Tell me something, Mabasi. Tell me something. Tell me something good, kid.
Am I echoing? No, I was just saying, like, you're absolutely right. We wouldn't be trying to be healthy. We would we wouldn't try to be happy. It would just be natural. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, we got to wake up and, we got to do all of these things. I got to try to do this. When it would just be a natural, intrinsic part of our lifestyle. It's like you wouldn't try. Like, at some point, when did we had to try to be happy? You know what I'm saying? We worked just enough for what we needed,
Even the daily affirmation, the daily meditation, you got to make a conscious effort to be peaceful. You got to make a conscious effort to be happy. Yeah. I am calling.
Right.
That's why I mentioned the babies. The only evidence that we have of pure ecstasy on this planet is babies.
Yeah.
Loved unconditionally, loved all the time, happy for no reason, happy and child picking up a roach and happy. You understand?
But you made a good point about what you said in your treatment about how you might want to elaborate about how your teacher, the Chinese teacher you learned under, told you regardless of how healthy someone is, to check their liver because of just being colonized, being oppressed. You know what I mean? Like we might, as healthy as we think we are, I mean, our liver is going to be affected um, from the oppression and just the
Yes,
everyday life of being
come on,
colonized.
Abasi. This is a man who was listening. You understand?
Yeah, I got it's
Yeah.
fascinating. It's fascinating because you have these healthy people like you said who I'm vegan, I'm this pescatarian, mescatarian, whatever. They do all of these things and then they drop dead.
Yes.
To their friends and their colleagues, they're the epitome of health, and then they drop
Yes.
dead. You know, just this
Oh, that's real.
underlying just stress of just being just caught up in this stuff. It kills us at times. I mean, too often than not.
Yes. Oh, that's real life. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning. I'm still trying to come out there and get them cups. You know what I'm saying? Coming for the cups. You know, shoot, I'm trying to get. Look. I think you don't even know me and my friend Jen all the time talking about. She's talking about planning a trip. I'm like, man, I
Come
try
on
not to be
with it.
selfish, but I don't, you know what I mean? I feel like I don't want to bring nobody to my sanctuary. Next thing you know, everybody want to, but that's what you're supposed to do. But it's my piece, damn it. I'm coming for the cups, damn it. Let me come for the cups first.
Yeah,
But
I'm working on this. I'm working on this project right now, given the new norm, like of developing mini retreats, like personalized mini retreats. And so that might be perfect. A person has a 3-day weekend that they can invest, that they ain't trying to pay no, $2,000, $3,000 for no booty yoga retreat somewhere. They want something that's going to be practically applicable. They can come away with information that they can use in their lives and this treatment that's transformative. These tailored mini retreats for individuals or for families. So that's kind of the thing that I'm working on right now. So yeah, that might be the ticket for you, Assistant Jack.
hey, I'm coming. What's the name of the center? It's the Release iHeart Center. The iHeart Release Center is the name of
No, my IG, the Release Heart Center.
Release Heart Center.
It's kind of a play on words because the Release Heart Center is about not only a facility that facilitates removing scar tissue from the heart center, but also the heart being the center. And in Chinese medicine, in Ifa, the heart is considered the center. It's the space or the crossing point. It is the crossroads in Ifa. The heart is the crossroads. The heart is a legba. The heart is the crossroads between earth and heaven. It's the place where heaven and earth meet. It's the heart, right? And that if you want, and then even in Ayurveda, when you're talking about chakras, talking about the 7 chakras, the heart is the chakra that that governs all things. That if you have what in Ayurveda, what they teach us is that if you have like a disharmony or a disharmony, for lack of a better word, in a particular chakra, like you're having a blockage in your throat chakra or in your third eye or whatever, that's fine. You can do things that directly address the throat chakra or the third eye. But if you really want to get to the roots of these blockages in any other chakra, always start with the heart. Always start with the heart. And that's almost in every tradition, whether medical or philosophical, like, theological, is the heart being the center.
But also, you also talked about and you teach about how our emotions affect our organs, how we all have certain pains and things in our certain parts of our bodies, just based on just stress and emotional imbalance.
And that's important too, Abasi, and knowledge. The heart is everything because Abasi is right. In 5 element theory, the theory talks about like emotions being tied to certain organs or impacting certain organs or emanating from certain organs that are in distress, right? And so the liver, as Abasi mentioned earlier, and Western medicine is finally catching up in a lot of ways, right? Where like the liver is concerned, the liver is impacted by or emotes anger, rage, resentment, frustration, envy, jealousy, and depression, right? And the Western medical correspondence to that is people who have what they call type A personality in this society are more predisposed to cardiac events, strokes, aneurysms, and heart attacks. And the method for how that happens is because people that have type A personality, these are the people who get mad at the drop of a dime. They go from 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds. They're the road ragers. They flip you off. Right? They're the stereotypical old school bodybuilder who's like, the old school dude who was like super buff, but he was like always on edge, with red face and shit, right? They call that the type A personality. Anger, rage, resentment, frustration, blah, 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 right? And in Western medicine, the type A personality, who is always quick to temper, has higher levels of homocysteine, higher levels of cortisol, which is produced by our thyroid and processed by the liver, impacts the liver, increasing the liver's production of triglycerides, right? So if you want to get off technical and scientific and biochemical about it, they just create a new fancy way of saying what the ancients have said for 6,000 years. If you're quick to temper, quick to rage, quick to anger, quick to resentment, harbor these emotions, you're more likely to have high blood pressure, cardiovascular events such as death, stroke, and aneurysm. Okay? So Western medicine is always, Johnny come lately in its understanding because they have to have a white guy in a white coat and a white lab with a white microscope to verify and justify what the ancients have always said, but they always come back to square one. The ancients said that if you eat walnuts, because walnuts look like a little brain, walnuts must be good for the brain, right? They call that the doctrine of the signature. The food is like they said, well, God put its signature on every plant in the world to tell us human beings what these plants are good for in the human body. The doctrine of the signatures, right? And Western quote scientists wrote it off as hogwash and ooga booga. Well, fast forward 200 years, walnuts look like a little brain. This is what the doctrine of the signature said. Walnuts look like a little brain, but take it up out of there, right? So it must be good for the brain. And that's all we need to know. Fast forward 200-300 years, walnuts are a great source of non-animal containing omega-3 essential fatty acids, which are vital for the development of brain cognition, particularly in young children. You understand what I'm saying? So the emotions, like Abasi is mentioning, are there. It's like in Chinese medicine, the emotions are called the 6 evils. And the reason they're called evils is because there is a process. Emotions we have to have, right? Emotions help us to understand and interpret the world around us. The emotions become an evil when they do not flow through a natural process. We experience the emotion, we interpret the situation, and then we recover from the emotional response. Like these ebbs and flows, right? Where the emotion is an extreme, and then we come back into harmony. That's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? It's how we analyze the world around us, okay? But when we go through, especially as colonized people, these constant highs that plateau of emotional extremes where we never come down and have the ability to, come back in balance and harmony and recover from the emotional extreme, that's where the emotion becomes an evil. Sadness in and of itself is not an evil. Grief, rage, resentment in and of itself is not an evil. It is when we begin. So they say that the cause of all chronic disease in Chinese medicine the philosophy is the cause of all chronic disease is number one, unresolved, unexpressed emotional trauma. And second to that is improper food and drink. That's why you can be a vegan and still be sick. Because first is unresolved, unexpressed emotional trauma. And second, in its importance in chronic disease, is improper food and drink. Okay? So yeah, the liver, anger, rage, resentment, frustration, jealousy, envy, blah, 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 blah. The heart, sadness, right? The lungs is grief. So sadness and grief is different. Any issue where the heart is concerned that we would identify as a psychological disorder, diagnosable psychological disorder, bipolar disorder, manic depression, schizophrenia, whatever, even narcissism is a condition of the heart, because the heart governs the mind. The consciousness and the subconscious is governed by the mind, right? It is said that our consciousness is housed by the shin, which is the heart, okay? So, and then the root of the tongue flowers from the heart. So when you have people that have stuttering, actual physical issues with speaking, right? Like aphasia or studying, you're going to treat the heart because the root of the tongue flowers or emanates from the heart. That's when they talk about speaking your truth. Your truth is in your heart. The ability to communicate that is in the tongue. You understand? Right? And so, but if you have a person that doesn't have physical speaking issues like aphasia or stuttering, but they have an insecurity. Say, because they have a timidity or a fearfulness of communicating through their heart. It might be a heart chi deficiency. It might be phlegm misting the heart orifices, right? But it's still an issue of the heart, right? Our ability or inability to speak our truth, to speak clearly. So that in Chinese medicine corresponds with the throat chakra and, and the third eye or any other chakra where they say, if you want to treat any of the chakras, you can do that. You can focus on that chakra, but you'll get more headway if you treat the heart first. What does that mean in modern medicine, in Western medicine? They say that the heart has more synaptic activity than the brain, right? It is the heart that sends out this network of energy called the electromagnetic field, that it sends it out 6 to 9 feet, right? And then interprets everything around us and then brings that information back to the heart. And then the heart communicates to the brain. This is how I need you to show up. You understand? I need your adrenals to kick into overdrive, because as the heart, I have detected, right, this energy behind me that I can't see, but I know has ill intention. What we call our instincts or our intuition is the heart sending out this network of electromagnetic information and interpreting the information that comes back to it. And then it is the heart that communicates to the brain, not the other way around. Western medicine is finally conceding that. Finally conceding that after all this time and all these colored folks around the world saying it is the heart that is the emperor. It is the heart that governs the brain, that governs the mind. It is the heart that interprets the world around us and sends that information to the brain, and then the brain alerts the body on how to respond appropriately. Right?
So who heals the healer? Every time you come on, I gotta ask you again. Who heals the healer?
What?
Every time you come on, I gotta ask you. Excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, better. Yes.
Okay. Every time you come on, I ask you, who heals the healer?
Let me tell you something, African. Oh my God, I don't believe you. So I was in the hospital in December. I don't know if you knew that. I was in the hospital in December. And I know why I was in the hospital, because Spirit was like, you talking all that shit to everybody else about how they need to take care of themselves. Because the majority of the people that I treat are healers in some way or another. I'd say easily 90% of the people that I put my hands on are healers. I don't know how they keep finding me, but that's who I'm treating out here mostly. And so I'm always telling them, Spirit is telling us that as the healers, we got to take care of ourselves. You understand? We got to center ourselves. We got to fortify ourselves so we can be the best of ourselves for others. But that means we got to unpack our own baggage. We got to deal with our own shit. Yeah, we got to deal with our own trauma and all this stuff. And I'm talking that shit all the time. Spirit was like, okay, girl, you're channeling right now, but what you doing? I'm like, but let me just treat a few more people. Let me just get this working. You understand what I'm saying? And so finally, the last 2 weeks of the new year, hadn't been sick all year. All my housemates had COVID. Everybody around me sick. You know what I'm saying? I ain't been sick. Knew I wasn't going to get sick because I don't get sick. My weight, she is strong. You dig? And then 2 weeks before the new year, Spirit was like, oh, okay, you just ain't going to listen. You're just going to be out here just wilding and shit. Okay, we going to park your ass down. And it couldn't be with something that like is logical, like COVID. Everybody's sick. I'm treating all these people. Okay, I get COVID. Nope, I couldn't get COVID. The Spirit needed me to know it was Spirit that was intervening on my life. I end up in the hospital with freaking uveitis. The shit's so rare that all the nurses were piled around me trying to get a picture of my freaking 2-inch swollen uvula. For those who don't know what your uvula is, it's the little dangly thing in the back of your throat that look like a little punching bag, right? Mine had grown 2 inches long in a matter of hours, and I was choking and asphyxiating on my uvula. Okay? The most random thing that can happen. And I ended up hospitalized for it. I hadn't been sick since 2016, like not even a common cold. And the reason I know it's 2016 because I almost fucking died. And so Spirit was like, yeah, we need you to take seriously and intimately what you've been telling others. So after I got out of the hospital, I was very timid about going back into practice. I don't think I treated anybody for like 3, maybe 4 weeks after I got out of the hospital. And when I started treating again, it happened 4 times, knowledge, where I would have this whole process going. And people aren't just getting body work done for me. People are like, I need you to do like some other stuff. So I keep, I smudge in here, I do Copal, I do, Olympia, I do energy clearings. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm doing crystal work on the chakras, like I'm in my bag in here, right? I'm in my element in this joint. And 4 different times I'm in these deep sessions with people. I'm just like going in, I'm giving them the magic, I'm giving them the works. And like I remember the first time it happened, I had this woman face up on the table and I had, crystals on her chakras. And I'm burning Copal on her and telling her to visualize, that which does not serve her, going into the concrete. You understand what I'm saying? Like not carrying it out with her and letting Mother Earth process it for her and all of this stuff. She opens her eyes and she looks up at me. And I was like, are you okay? And she says, who does this for you? Verbatim. It's happened 4 times where I would be deep in session with someone, face down, face up, don't matter. And they'll touch my hand or they'll touch my arm and they say, who does this for you? And I laugh it off. Or I'm like, yeah, well, I haven't found anybody yet or whatever. But it's not them asking me that. It's Spirit still saying the same thing it said when it parked my ass in that hospital bed for 2 weeks. Who does this for you? So it's just crazy that you would ask me that because apparently it is the new theme of my life. Like Spirit knocking me over the head with a bat, like a spiritual bat or some shit. It's just happened a lot. And the answer to the question is no one right now. Yeah.
I don't think you're applying yourself, Smokey. Smokey. Smokey.
Say that again?
Smokey. I don't think you're applying yourself, Smokey. Okay.
Well, It might be. I hesitate to say it, but it might be a level of arrogance. I used to say when I got out of massage therapy school that I was a massage snob because I went to this awesome school with this awesome program, and the only people I would let put hands on me were people that went to the school that I went to because they left no stone unturned. It was really a powerful program. And then to work with other massage therapists like in spas that I was going to, I was like, damn, where the hell did y'all go to school? Y'all got gypped. You got robbed. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't give you the juice. They didn't give you the gold. You understand what I'm saying? And so I kind of like, this is years ago. I finished massage therapy school in 2009. And everybody that went to my school, it wasn't just me. We all were like, man, we massage styles. We can't get no treatments from nobody that didn't go to Cortez, right? And so I don't necessarily pride myself on being a massage snob or a wellness snob, but I think it's not even a hesitation. It is like I see this acupuncturist right now, right? And I've seen several acupuncturists since I've been in California. And this is an old head. He used to teach at one of the colleges here. You understand? Now he just practices full time. Old Korean dude. And it's like, even though like the way he practices is really intense, and like there's this concept called the arrival of chi. Okay. So when you get acupuncture, there is this force that you feel, or this surge of energy that you feel when we say the chi has arrived to the point, right? His arrival of chi is brutal. I've never experienced anything like it with any other acupuncturist. It's intense. And I have been typically going to him like when I'm in crisis. You know what I'm saying? Like I tore my rotator cuff last summer, and I went to him for that. And and some other recent things. But and it's a complaint that I have because I know what my education as an acupuncturist provided. And I know that the standard of education that we receive is the same typically across the board. These schools are very thorough now. They didn't used to be. They used to be a lot more esoteric, but now they're very thorough in the execution of like intakes and manual therapies like gua sha, tui na, the cupping and the moxibustion. And even though we were all basically trained the same way, I've been to 4 or 5 acupuncturists here in California, and they all increasingly, there is this way that acupuncturists are treating like Western medical physicians. They say what hurts. You understand? The intake is very brief, and they take you in a room and they stick some needles in you, and they leave the room for 45 minutes, and they take the needles out, and they say that'll be $85, that'll be $100, that'll be $150, and you on your way. And the way I was trained was the intake process is everything, and you leave no stone. It's thorough, it's emotional, it's physical, and it's spiritual. You're asking all the questions to get an assessment of who a person is when they are sitting in front of you in a moment, right? And after that intake, you formulate a therapy or a session, a treatment for them that addresses at least those 3 major things in their intake that are prominent in their presentation in that moment, right? And you use the tools that you have in your arsenal to address their issue. For example, if a person comes into you that has low back pain that is not caused by trauma, car accident, slip and fall, whatever, that they just have low back pain, then you're not just going to stick needles in their damn back. You're going to put your hands on them in some manner, tui na, gua sha, or cupping first, and then the needles are last. That is a quality of treatment that is indicative of a therapist that gives a damn about what is happening with their patient, that is validating their patient's pain in a way that is human. You see? And I ain't met no therapist that treats like that. I haven't met that person since I've been here. Not no acupuncturist. I haven't met them. And it's really unfortunate. And I've even heard acupuncturists say, my practice is very basic. It's needles in and needles out. In a medical system that we have to our advantage, that is the closest thing to the evidence of magic and its ability to change things. And this is the philosophy that you adopt. It's needles in and needles out. Yeah, that's why. And so I'm like, I keep making jokes about it, but I'm serious in a certain kind of way. I'm like, that's why I need to do this apprenticeship program so I can create a bunch of little therapists that practice like I do, so I can have one of them put some cups on my shoulder. You see what I'm saying? So I can have one of them put their elbow, in my trapezius muscle. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the only way I'm gonna get the kind of therapy that I need, that I know I need, I do a self-assessment all the time. I'm like, oh, that pain is new. That's my this and that and such, and I need X, Y, and Z. And I do treatments on myself, but it's not the same, right? And so I need to make a bunch of little mini-me's that bring their own flavor to what I give them, and then have them propped up on my back doing my cupping and my gua sha, my, you know what I'm saying? Until then, I'm just going to be getting half-ass treatments for people who approach the magic of this medicine like goddamn capitalists.
Well, it's
to hand somebody $85 when you in distress, and you ain't in no less distress when you leave after you done been in treatment with them for an hour is problematic. And I wouldn't even take your money. If I ask you what's your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10 when you get there, and your pain level is a 9, and I ask you after you get up off the table under my hands for an hour, and you say my pain level is still a 9, I'm gonna tell you to keep your money. I done did something wrong, and that's never happened. That's why I can say that shit with confidence. That's never happened. In 12 years that I've been 13 years I've been putting my hands on people, that ain't never happened. I don't feel no better. That ain't never happened because I give a damn. Because I give a damn. You understand? And people don't have that same care for human beings and their condition. One, it's a way to invalidate the quality of their pain, the quality of their discomfort, in my estimation. And Black people, more than anybody, know what that's like. To have your pain, to have your discomfort, to have what's happening in your body invalidated because you couldn't possibly know what's going on in your own body. We all experience that. So that's why I make it my mission, to offer, to provide the best of what my toolbox has to offer. That's why no two people's treatment looks the same. Because no two people are the same. Right? Anyway. So that was a long-winded answer to that. No damn body is providing for me what I provide for others.
Care comes at a cost.
I guess it shouldn't, but I
You
guess.
Hear that? No, it's the truth. Care comes at a cost. From every level of what you provide, there are occupational hazards that's associated with it.
Yeah.
Everybody walking around here like John Carvey. You're taking things away from people, and they stay with you. So you're inheriting things from people that you have to give away also. So at a base level, the capitalist that provides the needle in, needle out, have to have seen some shit that was like, oh, wait a minute now. Oh, I don't want that. I just want the $85. I'm good on the other. You understand what I'm saying? Like, because there's the cost that's associated with it for caring. So there's a dualistic look into what healing is and who healers are and what they have to provide and the shit that they got to deal with. My mother was a healer. My mother was a person that could see both sides of the spectrum without even, using any of her implements or instruments. She just used them like props so she wouldn't scare the shit out of people, is what she taught me. So she could look at you and tell you what's going on with you, what has been going on, and what will go on with you. And what she learned in school, it doesn't go that far. You understand what I'm saying? So she was one of those ones naturally with this gift. So this was the process for her. She would tell people yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and then prescribe them something that they needed to get started to see immediate results. So our people take healing like aspirin. So an approach to the healing is the relief. They want the instant relief, and that's it. Like, okay, I took this aspirin. I want to suppress. I don't want to deal.
Yes.
So because you want to suppress and you don't want to deal, you could be led to a situation to where this is where you're supposed to deal, but you're not ready to deal. You simply ready to suppress. So I'll take some needle in, needle out, and you don't get no result. Or you feel a little bit better and I'm good. Like you're like, okay, I want to feel a little bit better. I'm good. Like, oh no, I don't need the herbs no more. Oh no, I don't need the treatment no more. My headache is gone. Well, I need to see you. So these are things that we have to understand in the healing dynamic in regards to taking on the task of healing, knowing who we're meeting and who we're in front of. That's why you said the intake is everything, because in the you can find out what level they're on, and you can't treat them as they set ability to be able to go.
Right. No, it's real.
So a misdiagnosis on that intake, that part right there, has its own occupational hazards for the person and for you. Because we all accountable for what we do, just like we're accountable for what we don't do. So all of these things are there together, and we approach them in the fashion that's most necessary, and hopefully or willfully, like folks say, we did the right thing at the right time for the right person.
Yes. Yeah.
And that still got hazards too.
Yeah. No, it's real. It's real, and I think that that's really that's really right on, because the other thing that I feel like we haven't really factored in, those of us who are healers, is that this last year, the energy around us has shifted radically. We're more open, and that leaves us more vulnerable. And so we can't slack on those things that we know to do for self-protection and self-care. My godmother has been telling me for some time, my spiritual godmother in Ifa, has been telling me for many years, actually. She's not the only one. Everybody that I sit before, if I'm sitting on a mat or whatever, has told me that I have to be initiated into priesthood in Ifa. And I've been really resistant to that for a long time, because in my mind, I saw the priesthood like I see my godmother, or like I see, the Babalawos I sat in front of. I see them, as quote godparents who facilitate, readings and, teaching the tradition. And I wasn't interested in being a priest. I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to be nobody godparent. I ain't trying to help people transition into the tradition. I ain't trying to do none of that. I'm cool being a devotee of Ifa. right? Like that was always my line. I'm cool being a devotee. And finally, my godmother told me some years ago, and then more recently, she's like, you cannot keep avoiding this. She said, the nature of the work that you do is the reason Ifa is calling you to the priesthood. That you're not being called to be a priest, to be somebody's godparent, or this, that, and the other. You are called to the priesthood for the protection of your life force because of the work that you do. That's what she told me. She said you need to get powered up. She said you need to get your juju right because you are taking into your body that which does not belong. And you literally putting things in people's bodies, needles in people's skin, child, putting your hands on sick people. And it is having an impact on your health. And a lot of the times, she was the only one that clarified this for me. A lot of the time, people are called to the priesthood as a way to shield them and protect them in the work that they're already doing. So this year is, I'm a daughter of Oya, and here it is my number 9 year, my number 45 year, which is the number of Oya, and she stayed kicking my ass because of my hard-headedness and my resistance and shit. And she's like, nigga, you need to get initiated this year. So what you gonna do? Anyway, that's just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying about what people leave with me. And then all the stuff that I do to like clear my energy, like smudging myself and wearing crystals in my pockets and going out to the ocean and visualizing leaving that stuff in the ocean so that, Earth knows how to handle our shit. So take this stuff from me, process it into something that is useful for humanity. Like we can leave our burdens with the earth. We can leave our burdens with the water, right? So I regularly go in ground. I regularly go and lay on the dirt or lay up under a tree or walk around barefoot. Spirit's like, boo, that ain't enough. Not for this spirit. Not for the shit motherfuckers dropping with you. Dropping on you. That ain't enough. So when you going to get your life right? When are you going to face this initiation? So that's one of the things that's become primary this year is how to facilitate this process. I've been told that I'm a child of Oya, that I have to be initiated Oya, but I actually have to be initiated into the Equine Society as well. So I'm telling Spirit, I'm like, look, make it as easy and painless and effortless as possible because I got too much going on in my life, and I'ma just need the most direct route to this. And I'm just tired of shit being hard. That's all I'm saying. Like I'm gonna need the easiest, direct, most direct, go with the flow methodology of my life unfolding. That's what I need. Okay. I don't need no more struggle politics, no more struggle in my life. You understand? I learned all the hard lessons. Thank you very much. Now I'm gonna need shit to come now. Right now, not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Right now. Anyway, I digress. But yeah. So just kind of piggybacking off what you said, like the gravity, the energy has changed, radically shifted this last year. So it makes us more vulnerable. It makes us more open. It makes us more exposed if we're not adequately protected, so that we can still do for others what we need to do and what they need from us without becoming susceptible or vulnerable to what they have to unpack. So I need to go because I need to get my mind right to prepare for a client I'm about to see. But this is always fun. It's always a pleasure.
So let people know where to find you, and if you got any before we go.
I can't hear you.
You can go.
Say that again.
I said, let the people know, how to find you if they need some work done. And
okay, so my name is Iyapo Moyende Ngina. You can find me under that name on Facebook, Iyapo Ngina. You can also find me on Instagram. My IG handle is release.heart.art. release.center. Excuse me, that is release.heart.center. That's my IG handle. Twitter, Iyapo Ngina. LinkedIn, Iyapo Ngina. And then you can always, I also do nutritional consultation. So if anybody does not live in the greater Los Angeles area and does not have the ability to see me, in the physical, but they are interested in learning how to use food as your medicine based on your diagnosis, I do a whole nutritional consultation with a full intake, just the same as I would do here in my studio. And you can email me that. You can email me if you're interested in a full intake and nutritional consultation. That is a typed up consultation based on the diagnosis that comes from your intake process. And you can email me at iyapongina@gmail.com or releaseheartcenter@gmail.com.
Brother Abasi, you had something before we go? I know you got something.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate being invited to the platform, and of course, always Sister Iyapo is always a pleasure. Listening and learning. But I just want everybody, if you can, donate, support, and get involved with Ujima People's Progress Party, uppmaryland.org.
Wow. All right.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all. Don't be strangers.
Likewise.
Abasi, you got to come back and break down this Ujima to us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll let you slide this time. We got to set something up and come back on them like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
some dope work. That's still work. Yes.
Absolutely. uppmaryland.org. If you got a chance, everybody go check it out.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Be out.
All right, now.
Thanks
Peace.
so much.
Uhuru Sasa.
All right. Peace.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. Night in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? No more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get back to the
motive is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.